when I played Greta Kammermeyer and I had to kiss Judy Davis. Literally, it was like when when I was in college, I studied cosmology. And at one point we were talking about Einstein's theory of relativity. And I remember I held my head really, really still. And for about 30 seconds, it was like, I understood it for 30 seconds. So when I kissed Judy Davis, it was like, it's like I had this great revelation of what it would be like to love somebody of my own gender. And it was fabulous. You know, I got this profound, you know, it was like a eureka moment because I understood it. And it was okay, you know. And so, you know, and I remember as crew guy said, it's really nice, isn't it, like, to kiss a woman.
Do you think you're getting better as an actress? Do you think can you get better as an actress? I mean, as you go, you're doing so many different things, you're always challenging yourself, but when you look at a film, do you think, I'm getting better?
I think you should only get better if you're an actor. Because I think with each character, you're exploring, you know, you're asked to be a social, you're asked to be a psychiatrist, a social scientist, you're asking why. You're asked to understand behavior. Yeah. And that should inform you and add to your tolerance and your ability to empathize. And because I feel very strongly that you can't play a character truthfully unless you find some place where you love them.
Right.
Otherwise, you're judging them, and that judgment will separate you from them.
That's it. You never judge.
You have to totally connect. You have to totally commit to who that person is, no matter what.
So you are getting better, and that's by dint of your continued curiosity and who you are as a human being? Is that how the actor gets better? You know, so many professions, people can improve in a profession, in a given profession. Be a better golfer at some point, be a better business person. Is it just the natural journey of you as a human being lends itself to becoming a better actor? I
would like to think so, but I don't know. I don't feel I'm not an old soul like my daughter. You know, I mean, I'm reading scripts now, and I haven't decided what to do, but I think, oh my God, you think I can do that? I don't know. I mean, who would that be a person be, you know? So it's like, I don't know. I don't know how to answer that question.
No, I think that's the answer. Yes, right on the aisle. Yes, Miss.
So when you're looking for what your next role is going to be, what do you look for in a script or a project that gets you interested and kind of excited that that's what you want to do next?
I look at the story, you know, then I think I have a pretty visceral sense of dialogue, so I know pretty fast whether I like the writing, and I find it, you know, it pulls me to the next page. And so the story, the writing, but if, you know, with the character that I'm being asked to play, is it something new? You know, I don't want to repeat myself. I want to go into territory that I haven't gone into before, which you know, and then ultimately, who am I going to have to be with every day? You know, has to be an interesting group, or else I'd much rather stay home.
When you meet a filmmaker, maybe a first-time filmmaker or a filmmaker you hadn't met, what is it about the filmmaker that magnetizes you towards the project? What does the filmmaker need for you to feel like you can trust them going into a project?
A good piece of material, and then to be able to articulate it in such a way, you know, that you feel you really want to work with them.
Someone once asked Orson Welles, what are the keys to filmmaking? He said, I'll tell you the 3 keys: the script, the script, the script. It's the material, the foundation of it. What's so funny, there's so many great actors going back to television or working in TV. And sociologically, a lot of great women, a lot of great actresses, Kathy Bates and Sigourney Weaver and Angelica Houston, Ellen Burstyn, to go down the line. Do you sense something in the architecture of that in terms of roles for women in the business? Is there something about TV, the freedom, or what does TV do for the actor? Do you enjoy working in that medium?
I love it. I mean, I've done it ever since after my first movie.
Yeah.
I've never been I keep saying the English do it all, why can't we? And, in the very beginning, I'd done The World According to Garp, and I was offered something called something about Amelia,
Yeah.
which was with Ted Danson. And my agent at the time said, don't do television, it will ruin your film career.
Wow.
I said, well, it's a great piece of writing.
Yeah.
So I said, well, they do it in England. Why can't we do it here? So, but there was a real snob feeling. There was the film community was very snobbish towards television. There was a big, gap,
Yeah.
and that's basically disappeared. And I started producing for television early in the '90s, and the place to go for real quality television was Hallmark Hall of Fame.
The CBS
that was it.
Movie,
that was it.
Hume Cronin, Jessica
Yeah.
Tandy,
And then HBO came, and
Yeah.
with the great golden age of English television writing,
Right.
which actually Stephen Frears came out
Right,
of,
we're
and
talking
all
about
these great
Stephen.
directors.
Yeah.
But and then that informed. Out of that came The Sopranos,
Yeah.
and this great, golden age now here of the long form drama,
Right.
which I think is a valid art form and our 21st century version of Dickens. I feel what we achieved in the 5 years that we did Damages is a seamless, wonderful
Yeah.
novel, really. And
It's an interesting paradigm to place it in. And as we have some young actors in the house, the common wisdom of there's theater acting and there's film acting. Is there such a thing as television acting? Not to sound pejorative, but is there a different craft? Are the rhythms different because of the scene structures? I was
I don't
watching
think so.
Damages this week, and the scenes are rather rapid, on par with a film scene. Are you in touch with that when you work in
rapid, you mean?
Well, the spine of the scene's quicker.
Are shorter?
It seems like, I think the basic description, but it seems like the decision making is faster or something about the clock. The clock is a little
Well, the
different.
clock is faster, that's
Yeah.
for sure.
Are you in touch with that as an actor?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You need to have an acute short-term memory. Well, especially for Damages, where our writers would frequently give you the scene the night before, or sometimes even the day of. In fact, I got to not even start learning my lines until I was in the makeup chair, because I didn't know if there'd be rewrites
Right.
when I arrived at the studio. But I got used to that, and in the beginning it was really disconcerting because I didn't know how it was going to end.
Yeah.
And I kept begging the writers, please, can I write my own backstory? Can I know where I'm from? Who my mother was, who my father was? Why am I so mean? And they'd say, no, you can't do that. And so I
Right.
say, so then you have to live in the moment, which is
Right.
great. It's a great exercise.
Was a studio ever on the line to help you with Albert Nobbs? Did you ever take?
No.
No.
And I went to every single independent film, company, many changes of regimes. From the time I bought the rights to the original story to the time we started filming was 14 years.
Right, wow.
So a lot changed in the industry
Yeah.
during that
The
time.
people change, as you say.
Yeah, people changed. October Films, where's
It
that
just-
now?
Exactly. Did you ever think, let's not keep pushing forward to make Albert
I
Nobbs?
did.
Yeah.
I think I might beating a dead horse.
Yeah.
And I really had to kind of say, is this worth it? Is it ridiculous? Is it never going to happen? Am I delusional?
Right.
And I, at that point, said, no, I'm not going to give up. I'm not going to give up. I don't want to look back and say,
Yeah.
I gave up, and I'm so happy I didn't. It's such a feeling of of closure,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
It was,
Well, it's interesting. I once heard you say that Alex from Fatal Attraction required a lot of research of you, which I thought was really interesting. How much research, physical research, metaphysical research, did you do for Albert Nobbs to play this character, to play this part?
I looked at Charlie Chaplin films because I always felt there was some clown aspect, some cosmic clown. You know, I grew up with, shows how old I am, we'd go to the Ringling Brothers Circus and see Emmett Kelly when I was really little. He was this wonderful, remember Emmett Kelly? This sad
the icon,
clown.
yeah, that icon.
Iconic, and he was
Yeah.
as much of a mime as a clown.
Yeah.
And he never smiled, and he was just as sad. He came out of the Depression, I think, that image of the bum.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was, as a child, it was mesmerizing to me.
Yeah.
And how somebody could be so sad and so funny at the same time.
Yeah.
And you know, with Chaplin, that same thing, there's something profound, I call it kind of cosmic wit, you know, and I thought that Albert in her unknowingness had that kind of clownish, you know, her shoes are just this short of being clown size, you know. And so I looked at Chaplin a lot. And I read a lot of, there are a lot of stories about women who did what Albert did.
Were you in touch with how much emotion to reveal at any given time? I mean, in that sense, with this character, you know, the way you use your eyes, how much to reveal, how much to conceal, how much emotion. Were you conscious of that? As you said, were your dilemmas as an actor the same dilemmas as Albert in that circumstance?
The most difficult thing was trying to figure out how much to show on my face. And how much not to show. And I think what's difficult for some people watching the movie is how little Albert shows, where I think we're very used to seeing movies where characters, you show everything. Right. And Albert's the absolute opposite. But for me, it was like, what has she experienced and what has she not experienced? And her whole survival has depended on her staying hidden. So she can't let too much out of her face. She can't invite people in, which is what you usually do when you're in a conversation with people.
Looking at it from the outside, using the word as technical, there's a great technical performance. Were you watching dailies? Were you scrutinizing your performance? I mean, obviously Rodrigo and you have been collaborators before. Did you know it was working? Or how did you know it was working? What was your reference for the, as you say, if the dilemma is how much do I reveal, how do you know if it's working?
I really struggled for the first couple of days. We shot this in 32 days, so we did not have a lot of time. And when we started, I knew that I didn't have it, and I can show you the scenes and show you how I know that I didn't have it. Because in the beginning, Albert has kind of a furrowed brow, and that just felt wrong to me. And what, I can't remember when I found it, but I realized, I guess it was, I know, it must have been on the third or fourth day, that her look, rather than this, was, and that was her, you know? So, but in the scene where I ask, so you married? That was early. I think it was like the second day. If I had to do it again, I'd
that
say,
one back,
you know,
yeah.
so you married?
It's too late to reshoot, I think. Unless you're Woody Allen, it's too late to reshoot.
So luckily,
Do you
luckily.
ever feel as an actress you have to, because you're obviously a sophisticated thinker, in touch with the world, do you ever have to tune that out a little bit as an actor in the spirit of irony?
Tune out?
Tune out your sophistication or your sense of the, well, in the sense of, you know, you say this is, Albert wouldn't have been in touch with something, you know, the implication, the gender-based implications of her desire.
Oh, absolutely. I mean,
yeah.
and also because it shows in your eyes.
Right.
I think the thing that that I loved the most about Albert, and that I basically really love about, it's a human characteristic that I find always incredibly appealing, is when somebody has no self-pity, and then you really empathize with them. If Albert was a whining and oh, why couldn't my life be like that and like that, you know? But she's unknowing, but she also has no self-pity. And she looks at her dream from a place of purity. And I think, you know, she's an innocent.
Yeah.
I mean, she's a real innocent. And those, you know, kind of historically, when you have stories that have innocence in them, that quality is like holding a mirror up to somebody and saying, you're a phony, or, you know, you're mean, because there's this innocent, unself-pitying purity looking them in the face. And I think there's the quality about that, you know, about Albert, that is why we love her, you know. But it's very complex, and she would have probably lost that eventually.
What about you as a director? Have you ever fancied doing a narrative feature as a director yourself? Is that in your a glint in your eye somewhere?
I've thought of it. I don't know. Maybe sometime. I look for in a director somebody who will allow me to be fiercely subjective about my characters. So you want a director who you will have that objectivity so that you don't have to worry about it.
Right.
And if you don't feel that a director his instincts are off, that's a place you do not want to be in, because then you and your fellow actors will be like saving his ass for him, basically.
Yeah.
And but the directors that can whisper in your ear at certain times and help you when you know you don't have it yet, and it is something elusive. And I've had wonderful moments where directors have saved me, you know. I think of when I was doing The Real Thing with Jeremy Irons, and I don't know, I think it was that pesky second act that, you know, was tricky. And I remember Mike Nichols saying to us, when you feel lost, just drown in each other's eyes.
Wow.
I thought, that's pretty cool.
What is it about the filmmaker that magnetizes you towards the project? What does the filmmaker need for you to feel like you can trust them going into a project?
A good piece of material, and then to be able to articulate it in such a way, you know, that you feel you really want to work with them.
Someone once asked Orson Welles, what are the keys to filmmaking? He said, I'll tell you the 3 keys: the script, the script, the script. It's the material, you know, the foundation of it. What challenges are out there for you? You've done so much, done every medium, Grammys, Tonys, Broadway music, you know, everything you've done. You did the voice of, you know, of the god. What was this thing you did in Into the Woods? You know, you've done all
the giant.
The giant, yes. You've done everything. What artistic challenges are out there for you?
I don't know, be a mime in front of the Met.
Yeah, okay. You heard it here first.